So Anthony Cassar versus John Castanazzo just happened on Fury Challenger Series 8. Very interesting fight. We learned a lot about Anthony Cassar, or Ant Cassar as he's known on Tapology. It was a very dominant performance from him, but we did see him slow down a little bit, especially in like the later half of the second round and the third round. But he looked good. Obviously, people are going to have really high expectations for this guy because he is like a collegiate wrestler. Like he wrestled at Penn State and all this stuff. Like everyone's gonna, they're really gonna get set really high expectations for this guy. But for a guy who's, this is his second professional MMA fight, he looked good. But like he's not gonna come out and look like a world killer in his second fight. People got unrealistic expectations sometimes. Like Bo Nickel, yeah, he looks like a killer in all his fights. But he had like a bit of an amateur career in MMA, not like a crazy long one, but he trained a lot longer than Cesar, I think. Cesar literally just went straight from pro, so there is going to be a little bit of uncertainty with all this sort of stuff. Like he's new to this a lot more than Bo Nickel is. But still, I thought he looked really good. People were booing the shit out of him because I guess he kept taking his opponent down and he was a bit tired at points, so he was sort of just laying on top of him, pitter-pattering him a little bit. But, it was his first time going 3 rounds. Like, I feel like the crowd should have. I guess I understand it. They probably did just find it boring, but, I didn't think he looked that bad. There was one point where he just got shoved over. He was so tired, but he ended up getting a takedown again. And then it was just unloading on John Giantasio. There was one weird moment. I think it was the second round, and the referee stood them up, and for some reason the referee helped up John Gianatasio. It was really weird. I don't know why. I don't like it. It felt like I don't know. The referee should have just let him get up by his own accord because he was like really gassed. Like, it wasn't like it didn't change the fight or anything. I just thought it was a weird moment. Like it literally helped the guy up to get back to his feet. It's uh, the corners aren't even allowed to pick their fighters up if they're exhausted at the end of a round, and you got the referee picking this guy up, like to stand them back up. Like let him stand up on his own. I just thought that was really weird. Maybe I'm just overlooking. Maybe I'm just talking that up a little bit. I just thought that was a really weird moment. But besides that, Anthony Cesar really kept going for arm triangles. That seems to be his submission of choice. We did see him use it in his MMA debut on Icon FC. So that does seem to be his go-to submission. Maybe he's got to learn a bit more submissions, but I think the guy's pretty good for where he is in his career. 27 years old, fighting at light heavyweight. That's young for that division. Young for heavyweight if he wants to go back there, but he did weigh like 202 pounds, so I'm thinking maybe middleweight's an option. I'm not quite sure if that's what he wants to do. I know him and Bo Nickel are like best friends, so I doubt he wants to go and fight in the same division as Bo Nickel if they, get in the UFC, if he gets in the UFC or something like that. But yeah, similar was interesting to see him weigh that light, especially because his debut was at heavyweight. Does it say how much he weighed for his? Doesn't say how much he weighed for his heavyweight fight, but yeah, that is interesting that he weighed that light. But the guy looked good. Didn't really get to see much of his striking, and I'm pretty sure he dropped his opponent in his MMA debut. But if he works on his striking, don't rush the guy. Don't just put him straight to the UFC like they did Bo Nickel. I do think he would get smoked if that was the case. Like he's young to the sport. I think they should just let him, get some experience on the regional scene. We did show that he needs to get more accustomed to like the 5 minute rounds, especially if he gets out the first round. We need to see this guy just get a bit more experience, I feel like, before we even think about Dana White Contender Series or the UFC. I don't think he's a Bo Nickel type prospect yet. I think he has potential though. Like he's a really good wrestler. That would get him really far in the light heavyweight division, especially in the UFC. There is no wrestlers at the moment in the UFC light heavyweight division really at the top. Like one of the only wrestlers, like one of the best wrestlers is fucking Magomed Ankalaev. And Magomed doesn't even wrestle. He's a striker. He's one of the only guys who really utilizes wrestling. Then you got Jan Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic. They maybe use wrestling sometimes, but Like, yeah, there really isn't any big time wrestlers at the top, which is crazy when you think about it. Like at the light heavyweight division, so many strikers. So he'd probably just be able to stylistically get really far at light heavyweight, but just with his wrestling background. But I feel like if the guy honestly just works on his striking, works on his jiu-jitsu submissions, submission defense, and boxing, I feel like if he becomes a wrestle boxer, I feel like he has a really high ceiling. Don't be like going out there and doing Muay Thai or anything. You know, Muay Thai with a wrestling stance and everything never really works out well. I feel like boxing, wrestle boxing is one of the best bases for MMA because you got the takedown threat. You can land the big overhands and stuff like that. You can throw people off with the takedown threat. But I feel like, yeah, if he's got some power, obviously. He's got power in his strikes. He's a big boy. Most of them light heavyweights are going to have power. He's got a good wrestling, like I say, good wrestling base. Seems like he seems realistic expectations. Trains at American Top Team, really good team to train out of, obviously. So much talent. So many guys coming from Penn State as well. It's like a mini, like there's like a mini branch in American Top Team of like Penn State wrestlers. But I like it. I like all these guys transitioning to MMA. Makes it all interesting. But yeah, this guy's really good in my opinion. People are going to probably be sour on him after that performance, but at the end of the day, people are just just because he didn't go out there and run through John in the first round. And if you look at John, well, only loss was to a cut, and then he got an amateur win. It's not like this guy's a can or anything. Like this guy, he's not a can. Like he has one loss, which was due to a cut. Pretty sure the commentary was saying that he actually was winning that fight too. So it's not like this guy's a bad guy. Who knows? Maybe this guy goes on and does some good things. Like he's 0-2 now, but we've seen people with them similar records go and do big things. Like Jack Molina was 0-2 at one point. Now he's like 16-2, and he's in the UFC. So you can never doubt people just because of some losses that show up on their record. But yeah, I always like seeing these wrestlers and Penn State wrestlers transition to MMA. They always make it's always good to see their transition and how much they evolve, especially when they get their striking and everything figured out. They become monsters when it comes to that. But yeah, like I say, very excited to see what the future holds for Anthony Cassar. I think we will eventually see this guy in the UFC, but if he does see this, or if anyone in his team, Bo Nickel, American Top Team, anyone who knows him, anyone who's friends with him, don't rush this guy. Let him build his skills a little. Sorry, my throat's a little weird. Let him build his skills a little bit. I feel like this guy could generally go really far. Like I say, works the boxing, gets like a heavy sort of clinch game. I could see him having like a similar Kamaru Usman type clinch against the fence, work them body shots, boom, 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 to the body. Like that would be really cool to see. I would like him to build something like that. So yeah, there we go. That's my voice now. Yeah, so yeah, I liked his performance here in this fight. I thought it was a good performance for how limited his experience is. Like I say, apparently it's hard for him to find opponents. I hope that doesn't make him rush to like some major organization. This guy needs to just take a slow build, in my opinion. Get himself to like 5-0, 6-0 maybe. I know people are going to say this isn't boxing and everything like that. You can't just can feed your way to the top. But I generally think this guy could go far, but he needs to be built properly. Needs to develop his skills a little bit. And then, yeah, he'll be a monster, I reckon. But anyway, yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. Really good performance here from Anthony Cesar. Faced some adversity, but most of his adversity in this fight was really just due to his gas tank. So, and I'm not saying he's gassy or anything. I'm not saying he's a bad gas tank. I just think he's not used to going that high pace and making it out of the first round. His first fight went for 3 minutes and 11 seconds. So yeah, we'll see what happens, man. At the end of the day, he's got one of the best backgrounds for MMA. Not many people have that Penn State wrestling background, but it seems to be like a real up and coming base. It's up there with the Glory Kickboxer. So just excited to see what this guy can do in the future, man. Like I say, light heavyweight not got many grapplers at the top. So just him having that background alone would do him some real good. Feel like he might be undersized for light heavyweight though. Like I say, he's weighing in 202 pounds. Maybe he cut too much weight or something. I'm not sure. Like I don't understand if there was like a strategic reason he came in so light for this fight. But yeah, that's uh that's all I've got to say, man. So yeah, if you made it this far into the video, make sure you give it a like. Let me know if you watched this fight with Anthony Cassar and John Giantasso 2. It's not a rematch. His name is John Ganasato 2. So yeah, this isn't the second time they fought. But yeah, let me know if you watch this. Let me know your thoughts on Ant Cesar as a prospect. And yeah. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. If you're not already, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.